Good morning or good afternoon to everybody. Welcome back to the OWC World Cup 2022. It is the round of 16, day 2. We've already had our first match of the day. It was an excellent one, and this one should be just as amazing. We've got Russia versus Indonesia. A pretty anticipated match, actually. It's definitely, I think, one of the more exciting ones of this weekend, with the potential these teams have on offer for us. Of course, joining me on this one is the ever so lovely T1G. It's one new guy. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, very excited for this one. I think both these teams looked quite strong in their wins in round of 32 last week. Of course, Russia taking out Sweden, Indonesia taking out Finland in a similar 5-2 fashion. Both very strong rosters, both pretty well-rounded, and I think that should make for a very competitive matchup on this week's new pool.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, the pool is going to be following an exact same format as from last week. Nothing changes here. It's still a best of 9 matchup. Pool sizes are exactly the same. Everything's just, a little bit harder this week, which gives us plenty to talk about, really.
Go
on. I was only going to ramble.
Yeah, we've seen a decent number of matches already this week now, and I think kind of starting to get a feel for some of the maps in this pool and how teams are going to perform on them. And I think as well, this pool going up a notch in the kind of tapping skill set requirement plays really interestingly into this particular matchup, because of course we're known as a very speedy team, but Indonesia performed actually as well as or better than they did on tapping maps last week. So when you increase that requirement in the pool a little bit more, it makes for some, I think, really contested picks on like all of the DTs plus free mod 2 plus even maybe no mod 2.
Yeah, and as well, something I really want to get into is like Hard Rock. Hard Rock is, for both these teams, we didn't see any of them play it last week. So we're going into this a bit unknown. We do obviously have the qualifier scores, but they don't really match up to what we're expecting in this round of 16. So I'd be interested to see if any of these teams are fancying trying out Hard Rock this week on each other. Because it is the unknown area, I think, between these two.
Yeah, based on like what we saw in qualifiers, I guess, if anything, it didn't feel like a skill set that Russia was especially comfortable with. Definitely not their preferred skill set. So, my take going into this match was that possibly might be something that Indonesia picks into if they're comfortable, especially with like the precision pick in the Hard Rock 2, which is kind of that prototypical, I guess, like low BPM, small circle size kind of pick. Might be something that they say, okay, Russia doesn't look super great at this, so maybe let's pick into it. The problem is they would have to feel comfortable with it themselves to do that, and I'm not sure whether or not that's the case.
Yeah, so we've got the interesting bans out now. Indonesia with the no mod 2 ban, as well as Russia with the hidden 2. Hidden 2 ban from Russia there is surprising. I think I thought that Russia had a very good score on hidden 2 last week, so to see them ban it against Indonesia here is a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, even with as good as their score was, they barely escaped. I remember they won that map by, what was it, like 30,000 points or something? It was very, very close against Sweden on the hidden 2. So despite it being a good score, maybe just not comfortable with their ability to win it against an Indonesia team that has some players who they think will be even better. And also I think it allows Russia to lean even more into guaranteeing more mechanics picks in this match. As you can see with them going straight into DT3, like they are going to want to play the speed and the tapping and those types of maps. So if they can get rid of other ones, it makes it a little more crystallized as to what their picks are going to be.
Yeah, and I think it's really important as well here for Indonesia to they would know going into this match that they would have to be on performance on speed. Because that is what Russia was going to pick into strength-wise. So they've not tried to ban it, they've not tried to avoid it, they knew they were going to play it, so I see the potential here for Indonesia to put up some really good scores if they're just going to let Russia pick into this.
Yeah, I mean, they ran a roster of Mindfrost, RO16, and Dellen, which looks like 3 of the 4 that they're going to have in for this one, putting in Ryuto in place of Dellen on last week's DT3, and ended up putting up one of the best scores of the week, outscoring Russia on that week. Tapping pick, Foprosoft, Chickeny, Apostel, and Din, of course, are a ridiculous tapping and speed roster, though, and this one is a little bit harder. There isn't a straight comparison from week 1 to week 2 on this map, so as we get into our first map, I think this one's definitely up in the air, and it's something that both these teams should be able to put a very good score up on.
Yeah, definitely. So getting into this, we already have early bait from Yuto there, and Rexy's as well, very early on. Again, this DT pool this week is very, very short. I don't think any map is above 2 minutes 30 for this pool, so early breaks are going to be crucial, and Ro there with another break, really not looking good early on for Indonesia here.
Yeah, actually, this is not even halfway through, and it's going to be at the point of being over in a big hurry. It's already almost a 300,000 point lead for Russia, and when you've got players like they have on this speed roster who just aren't going to miss on maps like this, they can make that advantage like just map ending only halfway through as it continues to grow. It's 400k already, and there's only the 1 FC left on Indonesia. There's not a lot of hope left for them, despite it being halfway through, and even with that one break from Vokrasov coming in.
Gonna need to see a real implosion from the Russian side here. As Indonesia, they get a little bit of a reprieve with that one break, but it's just nowhere near enough, and quarter of the map left. We are racing towards the end of this map, so it's really going to come down to breaks now before the score starts to rocket up.
Yeah, the score's up at 700k for the FC players. Give you an idea, I mean, it's like around 400,000 points left in the last quarter for those guys. But with it being 3 FCs capable of getting that much more score for Russia versus only the 1 for Indonesia, this is just like, are we going to see one of the best scores of the week at this point, more so than anything else? Because this map, as a result, quickly going to be a foreground conclusion. There is a late break from Apostol, so it is going to come back a little bit. With Chickeny and Din still holding onto the FCs, this is not going to be a concern. And just a good first pick here for Russia. This is them knowing what their skill set is and taking a pretty clean point. It came back to 300k at the end, but was really never in doubt.
Yeah, I think it was expected that Russia were going to come back and hit hard on this map. It's their first pick. It's going to be a solid win for them. But actually, if you look at the scores, Indonesia, they weren't a million miles away. They just had those early breaks. They definitely had the potential for a 4-way there. I'm just looking at that, and it's like accuracy is just as good as Russia there. It was just those early breaks. The recovery on them was excellent. I think it's actually closer to overall very close team averages. It's probably in favor of Indonesia there, but it was just those early breaks that completely threw them off.
Yeah, I mean, you see the one slider break from Ro, and it dropped him all the way down to 783k. Like, there's nearly 400,000 points there that he could have made up, and that would have made that map incredibly close. 2 misses from Ryuto, 1 miss from Rexy. So you can definitely see why Romania put up those really good DT scores last week, and you can see why they'd be, probably fine with playing this skill set in this matchup, because that was just a couple of breaks away from being a potential break point for them. I think, Russia did their job, but they're not going to feel going forward necessarily like 110% confident like you would probably want to be in a skill set that on paper kind of favors your team. But they got the win, and they go into Indonesia now getting their own first pick, which is going to be free mod 3. So we're going to switch things up quite a bit here from the speedy DT into the relatively low BPM free mod pick. This is a big change of skill requirement.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that a lot of teams this week compared to free mods last week, a lot of teams overmodded last week, which is expected on the easiest pool in the tournament. But I still wonder whether we'll see any overmodding. I don't think on this map in particular. I think teams might want to play this safe, especially due to the length of this. It's quite hard to keep up the consistency on a map like this with the modifiers as well, so expecting maybe just one hidden, one hard rock from certain players perhaps. But again, we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's tough because it's CS 4.5. If this was CS4 AR9, I think you would maybe see people overmodding hard rock because it helps with the density of this map a little bit. But with it being the slightly smaller circle size, it makes it a little less desirable, I suppose, to opt into the overmod. I wouldn't be the most surprised in the world to see somebody go like maybe a hidden and 2 hard rocks or something along those lines. But definitely, like you said, if they want to play it safe, they can just go minimum mods, play 2 no mods, and have kind of safer expected scores. So we'll see as we get into it. Big roster changes with the big skill set change. We've got Vitya, Welter, Vacman, and Tester. That is all 4 switching for Russia. Ryuto, Dito, Fuma, Mindfrost, so 2 roster changes for Indonesia. And they're overmodding hidden, which is not what I would expect on this. Fuma and Ryuto, both hidden. Let's see how it goes for them. This is their first pick, so it's hopefully something that they are very, very comfortable with, and they feel that maybe Russia is a little less comfy on. Though I think this Russia roster probably does well on, kind of low BPM aim control streams. Guys like Walter and Vitya are going to be very, very good on a map like this. And Tester, of course, their hidden fill player, has been doing very well in the hidden so far this tournament. So this should be a pretty contested one as well.
Yeah, I'm noticing from Russia they're putting in a lot of their players that are very good at sort of density reading, as we see the first break there from Mindfrost. Almost something you'd expect to see perhaps on like a hidden map they've put in with no-mod players. Welter there with the first break on the hard rock though, so a bit of a trade up there. But I don't think Russia's going to struggle with the density reading on this as much as perhaps Indonesia's hoping. But again, it's a very long map, so there is time for this to flip and change.
You see Mindfrost having a bit of difficulty at the beginning. He is that overmodded hidden hard rock player, so that's not really what you want to see, because that's a lot of score you're losing by not having that high score multiplier holding a combo. But, like you said, I think with Indonesia, the density reading pick, you see Russia banning out the hidden 2, and you say, what's kind of the next most similar that is going to require some reading, it's going to require some aim control. And I guess this was probably what they thought of. Mindfrost is really having a hard time, though. That score lead for Russia is pretty much entirely the difference between him and Welter, which is not a good sign if you're Indonesia on your own first pick. But, it's 4 minutes, or 3 minutes and 40 seconds long, so plenty of time for this to go any which way.
Right there from Ryuto, though, is going to really not favor as Mindfrost continues to struggle on this with the hidden hard rock. And Russia, they're just in a position now where all they need to do is just hold, and they're doing it with really good accuracy here. Even Welter on the basically 99% accuracy. I don't see a way for Indonesia back into this, to be honest, at this stage already.
There is this kind of difficult stream section here in this guitar solo bit, which we have seen some players break. There's a couple of 1/6 bursts that you can trip up on. But the problem is, it's Ryuto that's having the trouble. Tester does end up breaking for Russia, so it's now 2 FCs against 2. But that backing combo on Welter is just so huge that I don't know that it's going to make much difference. As we come into the last quarter, that leads 500k. We're just seeing a break point here. I don't know that there's a way back into this. Ryuto breaking again, even with Dito and Fuma holding on to the double FC, they're being matched. This is not working out the way Indonesia would have liked on their own first pick. You never want to go down that early break point, but that's exactly what's going to happen here.
Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. I was looking at this and I was kind of seeing the roster they were putting in for this, and I noticed, particularly Vitia and Vacman coming in for it, and of course Testapivka as well, really strong on sort of the dense sort of map sets that are a bit more reading focused. And I was just looking at it, going, actually, yeah, they could put up a really good score if this, if that's what they were thinking, and it turns out that they were. They were the big players there, and even Welter as well. Welter was a bit of a surprise actually with the Hard Rock FC.
Hard Rock won slider break early on, but recovered for a 1500 combo. That's just a good play. Now Russia has the break point. They can go back into their preferred skill set. So they put in their players for kind of their second, a secondary roster basically, because it's switched out almost everyone. And then they can say, okay, we've got a speed roster. We won the speed pick first, even though it could have been very, very close. We're just going to go back to that. We're going to go Senya DT, because everybody loves a good bit of Senya DT. We haven't seen it in too long, and now we're getting it back. 230 BPM, very streamy type of DT pick. Pretty sure this is another pick that both teams can do well on, but Russia will of course feel as though they are favored with how strong their tapping skill set is.
Yeah, I feel like this one might be slightly closer on paper than perhaps DT3 was, but I mean, I don't think that's still saying much, because you're expecting Russia to absolutely dominate on a map like this. Ciccone and Vacman in particular are looking really strong today. So, considering those factors, Indonesia they've got to go crazy on this play here to stand a chance. And I don't think they're nearly as strong, comparatively, based on what we've seen so far. But hopefully I'm wrong. I'd love to see a good battle on this one.
That's kind of always the thing, right? You have a team that you expect to be stronger, but you still want to see the perceived weaker team outperform expectations, because we love to see closer competitions on some of these picks that may or may not end up being contested. But we'll see how it goes. You've got Ciccone, Din, Vacman, Volpersov, Rexy's, Mindfrost, Puma, and Ro on some satellite DT. Satellite Senya DT. That takes me right back to about 2018 in the tournament scene then. We've seen some mixed results on this pick. Some people in for it that had a lot of trouble, and some people in for it who, dropped maybe 1 or 2 hundreds in FC, like it's the most casual thing in the world. And I would expect Russia to mainly fall on the FCing side of that spectrum. It remains to be seen how Indonesia is going to do, as Mindfrost, once again, will succumb to that early break in the first couple hundred combo. Where have we seen this story? Russia, speed pick, taking the early lead.
Exactly. I mean, it is doable. The map is so similar in length, if not slightly shorter. So, it's another break, quarter of the way through, that put Indonesia behind. They're really going to have to rally something here, and the break from Fuma absolutely falling apart on that stream there.
Yeah, not only did he drop his combo, he dropped a lot of accuracy, and when you're against a team that has 2 99s and 2 solid 98s with 95 and multiple 97% accuracies, it's just making things even worse for Indonesia. When you're behind this much combo, this much accuracy, it is an uphill battle at the very least to try to stay in touch score-wise, and it's an uphill battle that you're going to lose pretty much every time against this Russian roster that is holding the 4-way 2/3 of the way through.
And we're already into the last quarter of this map, and Russia have not made a mistake. They had a bit of accuracy drop with Din on one of the streams, but other than that, there is nothing to report here from Russia. Going into this ending, I mean, this is classic sort of Senya Let's have the pause right towards the end of the map.
Yeah, they're all. I feel like their song just they have that little break near the end, and that is going to be a late miss from Vopersoft. Not going to get the 4-way out of Russia. I believe the highest score I've seen so far, I think, is Taiwan, right? 4.6 million or something. So this is going to fall slightly short of that, but still a near 4.5 million score. Triple FC with 1 break in the last 100 combo. That's hard to beat. There's just not much you can do about that. Rexys and Rowe both FC'd, but they needed Mindfrost and Fuma to also both FC if they wanted to make that competitive at all. And unfortunately, it just didn't happen. You know, the ability is there. It's a 1 miss on Mindfrost. It's 1 stream that Fuma kind of fell off of, but Russia just more consistent in the skill set and really steamrolling their opponents with that speed consistency.
Yeah, I think, you know, you look at the actual team scores from Indonesia. That's the thing you have to take away from this, is that, you know, that the first DT map, they had 3.6 million, and this one they had 3.7 million. They're by no means bad scores. They're actually really good scores, but it's comparative to the team you're up against. And when everyone on Russia is pulling 1 million points to get 4 million, I mean, there's just, like you said, there's nothing that can be done in that situation.
You just have to have another like top 3 speed roster in the tournament if you want to contest that sort of pick, especially early on. I mean, yeah, it's like what 7-ish stars, but that's with, you know, new star rating and round of 16 pool. If you're against a team that's this good at that skill set this early, you really need to be able to put up probably 3 FCs in the near FC, clearly. But the pick goes back to Indonesia, right? And they've got to switch up the skill set, like, completely, I feel. This needs to be, like, an aim pick or a hard rock pick, because I think they need to throw Russia off their comfort.
Yeah, they need to bring in players that is going to shake this up a little bit. And, you know, perhaps and they are going to go into Hard Rock 1, but they've got to kind of break up that Chaconi Vacman domination that we're seeing at the moment. Force some other players to try their hand and, like I said, shake things up a bit. But this is a good map to try that with.
Yeah, I asked them to pick Hard Rock or Aim, and they said we'll pick Hard Rock and Aim. We'll go the Aim heavy, very consistency based as well. Hard Rock pick in the pool this week. 4 minutes 13 seconds. Like, I feel it can't be understated how much difficulty that can add, especially in a tournament setting, on an early round pool where you're expected to have to FC to win, or at least put up, you know, 800k, because it's just another aspect of it where you're thinking, not only do I have to hold an FC, I have to hold an FC for 4 minutes under, you know, tournament nerve situations. So we're adding all the difficulty into this, and it's again that roster switch up. You know, you saw Tester and Welter coming in for the free mod. Looks like those two coming in for this, as well as Vacman. Vopersoft, interestingly, I believe, going to be the only one staying in from their speed roster for the Aim. Rito Mindfrost, that noob guy, we're seeing him for the first time. And a 4th to be determined. I like this pick from Indonesia, though, for the reasons that we said. If they're going to be able to try to get into this match, it has to be via taking Russia away from their comfort picks. And this, hopefully, for their sake, will do that.
Yeah, interesting, actually, that I'm not seeing Delon in for this type of map.
Yeah. I did see he did just get switched to the tournament server, so he may have like closed his client, switched, and had to be brought back to the server, and maybe coming in. Not sure though.
Oh, he is. Yeah, I can see if in chat. Yeah, they're trying to get him over. I was gonna say, I'd expect to see Delon in for a map like this. Very aim-focused player.
kind of a big roster switch up for both these teams as we go back and forth in skill sets. So we'll see how this one goes. Indonesia, I think, for more reasons than one, really need this point. Obviously, they go down 4-0, multiple match points, but also, like, you just need to get a win on one of your own picks eventually. It's like, even if the match were longer, you need to get a little bit of confidence from one of your picks sooner or later. We'll see if switching up the roster and switching up the skill set for this Hard Rock 1 is the way to do that. I said ahead of time that the aim might be a skill set that Indonesia would want to look into, so we'll find out if that ends up actually being true.
Yeah, I love this background way more than I should. It just brings a smile to my face every time I see it. We've had some early breaks here. Voprosov, Ryuto, and that new guy all finding breaks. Vopro actually having a break so early that it doesn't seem to have made much of a dent, considering the recovery here. So, really, it's just hurt Indonesia here, who is trailing at the moment.
Yeah, it's just that Ryuto break and then that noob guy breaking. I feel like you probably shouldn't be breaking in this section like Welter just did. That's not good. That's really suboptimal. The map kind of starts in earnest about a quarter of the way through once you get through this build-up section. And anybody breaking before then is just setting themselves back kind of unnecessarily in a way.
Yeah, these sections which allow you to... I don't want to call them free combo because, Welted proved that they aren't, but... it is a chance to regroup, and dropping there is you're just making the job harder for yourself to try and hold the combo through this next section. But that noob guy, though, going to be finding another break here, as well as Delon as well. This is not good for Russia at all. For Indonesia at all.
Well, it's getting better now. That's Backman and Voprosov both breaking on the Russian side. So now you have Mindfrost and Ryuto against Tester and Welter, and Indonesia actually has the combo advantage for the first time in this map. And there goes Welter. It's matched by Delon and Mindfrost. That was not good. I'm like continually surprised by the amount of trouble that players have with this map, because we kind of anticipated, I think, when it was released in the pool, that it would be one that a lot of people got very good scores on, but it ends up with us seeing a lot more breaks than I think anybody would have expected. Just that continuous, it never really lets up on you, and I guess that can take a toll.
Yeah, I think these newer players, they're spending too much time on the square map than the OG.
I love square aim practice maps. Come on.
They're my favorite. Oh, Ruto. Oh.
That may just seal Indonesia's fate on this map. I know there's a decent amount of time left, but Tester has a 1250 combo, Backman has a 450 combo, and there's really nothing on Indonesia to contest them. This is, how to put it? It's just not going the way that I would have expected, I guess. This is Russia playing, kind of as expected, but they're getting this kind of underperformance, unfortunately, from Indonesia, giving them a little more advantage than it feels like they should have on some of these picks. Going to come in to the ending. It's going to be a 400,000, 500,000 point win by the time it's over. And Russia are going to be up 4-0. They're going to have their own pick coming to try to close out the match. Indonesia had their two picks. They went with the free mod, didn't work. Went with the hard rock, and this one also did not work.
Wait, they didn't DC, did they?
I don't think so. I'm guessing because there's that slight gap between the client and the player clients. So I'm assuming that they left immediately when the map ended, and it didn't show them before because of that lag between the servers.
No, yeah, they did both finish. They did finish.
And it is an instant pre-mod 2 pick from Russia. I think that their picks in this match were like so predetermined when this pool was released. It was like they're just going to be picking DT2, DT3, pre-mod 2, and like maybe DT1. But there's so much tapping that they just knew instantly. Like if those maps are available, that was what they were going to pick, and so they were ready and raring to go. And I think this is the way that Indonesia is playing and the way that Russia is playing. Unfortunately for Indonesia, I don't see a way for them to get back into this match at this juncture. Russia's just looking too strong on maps in this skill set so far to be likely to give up a break point on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that unfortunately Indonesia haven't been able to get a point yet. If they'd been able to get a point, they probably could have battled back in the second half of this. But with this map still open, and like you mentioned, the tapping, it's nicer in a way, I think, for Indonesia, because the circle size is a bit more generous with the 3.8. But it's the tapping element that's really going to be tested, and I'm not sure if Indonesia are necessarily strong enough to battle this. It depends on Russia's performance. They're probably going to have to underperform, I think, for this to go Indonesia's way. I think that's what it comes down to at this stage.
Yeah, you hate to not have much hope for a team in this sort of situation where you know they're as good as Indonesia is, but just the way Russia is playing today, it really looks like this is kind of a one-way train. But we'll see. We got to play the map. We're 3 minutes and 20 seconds away from the match possibly being over for Russia, but that's 3 minutes and 20 seconds that Indonesia can use to try to start a comeback off. We've already seen one reverse sweep today, and Indonesia would love to be the second.
So Rexy's Testapivka going to be finding early breaks here. Testapivka having a bit more of an issue going into that slow section.
Yeah, that is that's the way in for Indonesia. It's what they need to have happen, is those little breaks here and there that Russia have not been really punished by so far in this match. A little bit of slightly freer combo before the map really starts to hit again, and it is going to allow Indonesia to take a little lead, which is pretty much the first lead they've had in this entire match. They got to keep it up. They got to hold all of these combos, because you just can't expect your opponents to miss here. And in Rexy's Apostol trade, which is actually going to be better for Indonesia. They are okay with that.
Yeah, it was the early break of Rexy's there. So Rexy's just been breaking more. So it's a single break for Indonesia, really, to think about it. And Din with another break. Hold your horses here.
We may not be seeing a sweep after all. This might be the start of something here if you're Indonesia. Only one FC on Vacman on the side of Russia. Meanwhile, Ryuto, Mindfrost, and Ro all holding for Indonesia. Now, the back half of this map is the harder half. The ending is brutal. But if you're up a sufficient margin, it doesn't really matter. And with another break there from Din, Russia's going to need a lot of help to make a comeback at the end here. This is Indonesia finally playing to their potential on a pick like this. Holding down the triple FC into the last quarter of the map, and building up a 300,000 point lead that they haven't seen at all in this entire match thus far. This is the Indonesia we expected coming into this. A team that could actually put up really good scores on a lot of these picks.
They just haven't had a break up until now, and now it's finally happened for them. It's taken them 5 maps, but 4 losses to finally get a score they will be happy with, and it is really doing some damage on Russia here, right at the end, Russia, they were at the goal line. They could taste it, but they just couldn't pull it off just yet. Great score from Indonesia. Ryuta getting caught out by the slow slider there, though.
A slow slider away from a triple FC on this map. Oh, okay. There's gonna be no FCs. A slow slider. I don't even care. That ending doesn't count. That ending's stupid. Unironically, I think that the ending of this map is like too hard, or too RNG because of all the buzz sliders and kick sliders. They were a slow slider away from having, I don't know, not much of a better score than they got. I guess it wouldn't have changed all that much, but it's still very solid performance from Indonesia. They get a break point and they put themselves on the board. They have their own pick next. I don't know where they're going to go with it, but they do have their own pick next. So if they've still got stuff in mind that they want to choose, now is their time to be able to do that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Definitely trying to just sort of look around and see what Indonesia might want to go for. I think they're better off definitely staying away from a map like No Mod 4. Even though it's relatively similar, I guess, to Free Mod 3, but I'd still stay far away from it. Their scores last week were not... I don't want to say they were bad, but they're just not, I think, what you need to battle a team like Russia on it. So, again, because they've lost that hard at 1, it's hard to recommend aim to them. Because they haven't had the best performance on it, but maybe they need to stick with it.
Yeah. You know, the Hard Rock 1 not going super well for Indonesia makes it really difficult to think they should pick more aim. But what else is there for them? I mean, do you risk precision here if you're Indonesia and just, you know, say, screw it, we're going to go something really off the wall and go Hard Rock 2? I don't know if they're going to go to Mod 4. So we're going to get the tech pick against a Russian team that historically has been quite good at tech. I'm not sure how I feel about this pick.
I know how I feel about it, but it's not a good feeling. I mean, the way to look at this, though, is that qualifiers, No Mod 4 second run for Indonesia was very, very good. They got a 3.6 million team score on that No Mod 4. They got 900... What was it? Rogue got an FC. D2, I think, got an FC as well, or a slider break, as well as that noob guy. So they did have a good run on the qualifiers one, but whether that... I would also say as well that they're not probably as consistent. I think Russia are the more consistent team on a No Mod 4, but Indonesia have the potential to do well on a No Mod 4. That's what I would take away from that.
Yeah, it's like the pop-off potential versus the kind of higher skill floor, I suppose. I would never back a pick that means you have to play against Vitya on tech, because that guy is scary, like genuinely terrifying on maps like this. Indonesia, though, maybe that Free Mod 2 was just what they needed to get a little momentum, get a little confidence going. And who knows? I mean, this map's only 2 minutes long, and it's really difficult, right? Like, this map is pretty hard for this pool, I feel. I've seen some people mentioning things along that line. So we'll see how it pans out, but this is one that, despite the skill of Russia on No Mod 4, if Indonesia is at that level where they're confident and they're performing well, they can pop off on it and end up with a very, very good score. Or they can start off, with just traded breaks and maybe everyone will struggle a little bit. Hard to say. But they're fighting for their lives in the winner's bracket, and that always gives you that extra little bit of motivation to go out and put up your best score possible. As Tester and Vitya find a couple more misses early on for Russia. Indonesia taking another lead for the second time now in this match.
Yeah, it's opening things up for them. They're really good start, especially because Vitya is going to have to build combo from this section, which is It's not the trickiest part of the map, but it's definitely not free either. It's a rough place to start. So it's whether Vitya can recover and pray for an Indonesia break. I'd be very surprised if Indonesia carried through 3 FCs like they did before. But break from Testapivka is going to open things up.
It's a matching break for Noob Guy, though. So not the end of the world there. Ro and Dito are still holding the double FC, but it's Tester and Wells are both breaking, and now it is only Vacman with an FC, and Vitya a couple hundred combo behind. Even with that Mind Frost break, really doesn't make a big difference. As long as Ro and Dito hold on, this will be fine for Indonesia, but they don't. Oh boy. 2/3 of the way through. You've got Dito matching Vacman. Not a whole lot of supporting combo for Indonesia. Meanwhile, Vitya at 650. It's 200k. Is there enough time to bring this back if they hold as they are right now?
It's Vitya that's got a hold, and I would... Vitya is like the one person I'd trust to hold a combo at this stage. And it will go over as long as Vitya holds here.
Okay, here it comes into the ending. He doesn't hold. It's a break right near the end. The lead is only about 40,000 points, but I think it might just be enough for Indonesia to hold on into the end of the map, and they do by 23k. 22,864 points for those playing along at home. And Indonesia have now clawed back 2 points. Trying to make this match a little more interesting from the 4-0 down. They go into a couple of picks, one from Russia, one of their own, and put a couple of points on the board. And now all of a sudden you're making Russia think a little bit, because they hadn't had to think. They said, okay, we're going to go this free mod too, and it's just going to be over. Indonesia putting up their hands saying, wait, not so fast. We're keeping this match alive for just a little bit longer at the very least. And now, as you look at the pool, starting to look a little bit smaller. Especially if you're a team that really wants to play tapping mechanics. There's DT1, which is relatively aim-heavy, has a couple of bursts and triples, mostly aim. Other than that, it's all different. There's some aim, there's some reading, there's ult, there's precision. Not a lot of tapping left. So now Russia has to make a tough decision on where they want to go next as they try to close this out with their second opportunity on their own pick.
Now, they're going to go with DT1. I had a hot take on this, that I think that Russia could actually be very strong on No Mod 3. I think it's a lot more focused on the tapping rather than the aim focuses of old. But I think it would be a good pick for them, but they're going to try this DT1 first, which is understandable. It's understandable if, it is another DT map. It is something that they can definitely get good scores on. Players like Welter. It's going to be a lot more focused on the aim players on this one than necessarily speed. But, this is Indonesia we're talking about. They're also going to have very good aim DT. It would be their DT pick if they had to have one. If Indonesia had to have a DT pick, it would be this one.
Yeah, I think this was, Russia's probably best option remaining, but it's also a decent one for Indonesia. And this is Russia's last pick, remember, as well. So this is where they're going to, kind of make that stand and say, hey, we were up 4-0. Like, we're not going to let this go to the opponent's final pick to try to close it out. We have a DT still left. Let's go for it. This is going to be scary, though. You saw some good scores despite the gap between the teams on the DT2. I mean, yeah, they were both a couple 100,000 points and several 100,000 points, but it was, I think, clear that Indonesia would be more than capable on the double time picks. But in we're going to go. The last pick for Russia. If Indonesia can manage another break point, they get their own pick last to try to force a tiebreaker. Russia, of course, this their second and final chance to close the match out on their own pick. Chaconi, Welter, Vacman, Vopersov against Ruto, Mindfrost, Ro, and Rexes. Feels like Indonesia's kind of gotten into the flow of this match as it has gone on. These last two picks, obviously the last two that they've won, have looked pretty solid for them. And in we go. 2.5 minutes once again to possibly determine the fate of this match on a pretty aimey DT map where we've seen people break, I feel, more on aim than on tapping. That seems to be the more comfortable aspect of it. And it's an early miss from Voprasov. Not what you want to see if you're Russia trying to close this match out.
Oh, I think it's interesting that Russia, this was the only DT map they didn't play last week. They did not play DT1 in the bracket stage yet. And Indonesia, they did. They did play it last week, and they had very, very good scores on this map. 3.5 million team score for Indonesia last week. And they are on target to possibly even beat that this week as they hold the lead. Chaconi going to be fighting a miss alongside Mindfrost there. That's still going to favour Indonesia with the break from Voprasov.
That could have about ended this map if Mindfrost had been able to hold there. Would have been 4 FCs against 2, but there's a break from Welter. Don't look now, but Indonesia's over 100,000 points lead and growing fast as we go into the last third of the pick, but Ruto is going to slow that down. He is going to suffer a break. We're going to go into the last quarter of the map after this little break with a 200,000 point lead to Indonesia, fighting tooth and nail to try to stay alive here in the winner's bracket. It's going to be so very close. Backman has to hold, Voprasov and Chaconi have to hold. Ro and Rexys need to maintain those full combos for Indonesia. But Rexys breaks. Now wait just a moment. There's a little bit of time left. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but there's a lot of score in the ending of these types of maps. It comes down.
I think they've got it. I think they've got it.
Going to be close and not enough. Again, though, 40,000 points.
Oh.
Wow. If there had been another 5 or 10 seconds of map, I think Russia bring that back at the ending with that late slider break from Rexys, but Indonesia had just done enough. And scriptwriters hard at work here. From 4-0 down now to 4-3 down. Indonesia possess the last pick of this match to try to send it to a tiebreaker. What did I say? We saw one reverse sweep earlier today. Why not have another?
I think it's interesting as well that the last 2 maps that have been played, one of them being a breakpoint and the other being Indonesia's pick, both of these score differences between those maps is 60k added together.
That's so crazy. Oh man. A win's a win. You'll take it whether it's by 60k or 600k. But man, it certainly leaves the nerves a bit frazzled. So Indonesia, Nomad 1, Nomad 3, Hidden 1, Hard Rock 2, Free Mod 1. The available picks. Would like something that they can win by a couple 100,000 points to force the tiebreaker. They would prefer not to win by 20,000 points again, if it's avoidable.
I was looking at this. There's no way he just rolled that and picked it on a roll. Please tell me he didn't do that. Please tell me he didn't choose between that and No Mod 1. You're joking.
I wonder if it was, maybe No Mod 1, Free Mod 1. Well, when you're at this stage, I mean, you're not sure what you want, so I guess, no.
It's a low BPM Free Mod 1 again. Again, another short map, which always adds to the intensity. But what can you say about Free Mod 1 apart from Indonesia played it very well last week? They got a 4 million team score on the free mod. Fairly short, almost everyone brought home yeah, everyone brought home an FC on that map. So the expectation is there for Indonesia. It's whether Russia can respond, and they're in a bit of a dip at the moment.
Yep, Russia have faltered just a little bit here in the later stages of this match, and Indonesia have increased their level of play, and on an awkward aim-focused 3-mod-1, I think they can keep that up. Like you said, great score last week on that 3-mod-1, which was similarly awkward aim. Can they capture the magic twice in a row on this map, in this slot? This time, force a tiebreaker with it. I'm scared for everyone. Those nerves building to a fever pitch. But here we go. Once again, Indonesia has staved off elimination from the winner's bracket 3 times in a row. And now they just need one more to try to force the second tiebreaker of the day. In remarkable fashion, it's Vitya Ciccone, Vacman Tester, with Ciccone on Hard Rock, Tester on Hidden, against Ruto, Mindfrost on Hidden Hard Rock, Noob Guy, and Dito on Nomad. 2.5 minutes away, once again, from a possible outcome.
I mean, the big difference is here, there's no overmodding from Indonesia this time. There's no messing about from their previous maps. They did have one overmod traditionally in these last 2 free mods that we've seen, but they're not having it this time. That Noob Guy with the early break. It's still early enough, though, that could offer great recovery. Ciccone going to be finding the trade up there, though, so good news if you're Indonesia.
Yeah, that awkward aim hard rock can be tricky, and there's a break from Tester and Vacman. Oh my goodness. Ruto finds a miss for Indonesia's side, but they are still up 2 FCs to 1. Vitya expected to hold, I think, for Russia. He's, your anchor player on a map like this. So Mindfrost and Dito are going to have a lot of work to do, and they're going to fail to do that work as Dito breaks. So it's Mindfrost on Hard Rock FC, Vitya on a Nomad FC. The backing combo is there from Noob Guy and Ruto, but it is very, very closely matched until that break from Tester, and now that lead is going to grow just a little bit more. Halfway through, it's 100k. It's going to hold pretty steady around there. The combo lead is not that huge, and this is going to be terrifying into the last half of the map.
Yeah, the Mindfrost Vitya battle. There goes Mindfrost, though. That Noob Guy also going to be finding a reset, so this is really beneficial for Russia here. Vitya still on that massive combo. Vacman with a very nice recovery. He was just trying to hold it off, but a break from Ciccone will slow it down, but it's not going to stop it as Russia continue into this last little bit of the map in the lead.
I think Russia's done it here. Vitya has held this full combo. They take the lead back. He's got Vacman on a 500 supporting combo. And for all the work that Indonesia did to get those 3 points when down 4-0, it's going to all be for naught. As Vitya, the awkward aim legend, coming in the clutchest performance for Russia this match. This is what they needed out of him, and he is delivering a full combo, and he is delivering them to the winner's bracket quarterfinals in what ended up being a much more contested match than it looked like it was going to be. Russia take the victory 5-3, stamping out that last second hope Indonesia had of forcing the tiebreaker. That is a shame, really, for Indonesia. It felt like through the first half of that map, they may have been able to put up enough combo, but Russia just was not going to be denied. That FC is huge from Vitya. Nobody matching anywhere close to, I think, 200,000 points above the next best score from Ruto for Indonesia. both teams putting on a great show. I think, despite the league going to 4-0, Indonesia really fought hard to try to bring that back, but Russia just a little bit too strong in the end. We're denied the tiebreaker, but Russia is more than happy with that. They go onward to the winners' quarterfinals. They're going to face off against the winner of Poland versus Brazil, a match that will be taking place later on today. Indonesia drops down to losers bracket. They'll await the winner of Chile versus Norway, which is also later today. But what can you say other than well done to Russia? Had a little bit of a stumble, but managed to close it out.